I'm Steve Gonzales. I'm a principal manager with Think Big Analytics. We do independent consulting around big data, and my slides are more geared towards sort of Fortune 500. Apologize for people that are not in that space. But these are some anti-patterns, that is, things that you really should avoid doing. And I've got some tips and suggestions on what you should be doing around big data. So the first one, and I just discovered this recently, VLAN, Virtual Local Area Network, and Storage Area Network both end with AN. And in the big data world, I would say absolutely not. Try not to use these. You can use them. Certainly Amazon S3 is a great SAN, has lots of bandwidth. But typically the economies of scale on a local bare metal storage area network are going to be extremely high. You're going to have a very, very high cost to get the same amount of computing and disk that you would get if you just used attached storage, because Hadoop was designed with, it was not designed for VLAN or for SAN. So the next one is sort of a casual production upgrade. If you're lucky enough to have a Hadoop cluster in production and you've got lots of users, maybe even you have exposed to customers out in the internet, you should have some kind of mirrored cluster or some way to be able to do upgrades. Because if you're upgrading from say from Hive 1 to Hive Server 2 or from to the next version of Yarn, almost all of your ingestion feeds are going to break. Almost everything is going to break. So your production upgrades really can't be casual. They've got to be planned, they've got to be well thought out, and you got to be able to invest the time and money in them. Another thing that we see a lot is data that's unbalanced. A cluster will be expanded or be put into place. They'll balance the data, and then for whatever reason, competing resources, they'll turn off the balancing. And the nodes become unbalanced, which means eventually you will have data loss because the drives are going to break, something's going to happen. You have a single point of failure. You will lose data. So when you do capacity planning, you should really have the balancing as part of that CPU or part of the resource utilization so that you can run balancing on a regular basis. It doesn't have to run 24/7, but you've got to run it as a process, not as an event. Rack Oblivion, this is when the HDFS does not know where the servers are in the rack. They become rack unaware. This happens a lot as a cluster sort of organically grows. Again, this is one of those things where you have to put it, if you have a production cluster and it's organically growing every year, when you expand it, you have to make sure that the servers are rack aware. It's not a very difficult thing to do, but it's something that I see a lot of operations teams that, for whatever reasons, they're cutting corners and they don't end up doing this. So this might be a little controversial, but this is what I've seen. Cell level so first, Hadoop was designed with no security, right? None, zero. The only security was the physical security in the building that it was in. So the security is the most immature component of the entire Hadoop ecosystem. And there are dozens of tools out there that say they can do row or column or cell level security. I've not seen good success with these. You should stick to perimeter level security, stick to table and entity level security, and maybe, unless you really want to be a beta user of some of these technologies, maybe hold off on going down to sort of corporate, very advanced security. You can do basic Kerberization and basic perimeter level security. Almost all of our customers have that done. And just the last thing that kind of summarizes all these is, just don't be afraid to say not yet. I mean, you can, Hadoop has, the Apache, top level, there are dozens and dozens of applications. There are so many capabilities with Spark and in memory and streaming. But like with any other technology, you're going to have to incrementally build, so don't be afraid to say no. Thanks.